Hey Tigers, Tony here. On my last Copilot Tony talk, I got feedback that a lot of people were unfamiliar with Copilot Studio, and so several Tigers were asking me to give them a tour of Copilot Studio. Today I'm going to explain all the features of Copilot Studio, give you a quick tour of the app. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. Tony Talk. Okay, before we begin the tour of Copilot Studio, let's get some terms down. First, GPT. And what that stands for is Generative Pre-trained Transformer. All right, now let's talk about nodes. Now, when I think of nodes, or when I talk about nodes, I'm talking about the building blocks of a topic. And what that does is that defines what a chatbot should do. Let me give you some examples, such as asking a question, sending a message, or triggering a cloud flow. What I'm talking about is pretty much Microsoft Power Automate. All right, what does Microsoft Power Automate do? So what this does is this gives a sequence of actions and processes, such as sending an email from a bot to a user. There's an action node, which is, for example, updating a database. Another example of cloud flow is an adaptive card. And what this can be something as simple as collecting information from text fields. And then finally, another example is a simple HTTP request node. Okay, as you see right here, I've logged into Copilot Studio. And you look at the menus on the left, the top one is Copilot. You click on that and it takes you to your Copilot projects. Now, bear in mind that many of the features I'm going to discuss today are still in preview at the time of this recording. So I'm going to open my previous project, and that was in my last Tony talk. And then here, I always skip this, talks about all the new features. And if you look over here on the left, you see the menu items. Now, the first one is the generative AI, and notice a couple of things I want to call out. For you to use Copilot, it's about $200 a month for 25,000 messages. And then now looking at the generative AI column, you see here you can put it in a website or SharePoint for its source. For example, I used one of the Learn documents on Copilot in my previous talk. Here you can upload documents, and as you can see, this is in preview, and this is to provide Copilot the ability to give you real-time responses. Then you scroll down to here and you have content moderation, and this is how specific you want the answers to be. So for example, if you want your answers to be very relevant, you can set that to high, which means you'll get fewer answers, but they'll be more precise. Okay, now I scroll down to the more generative answers from data sources. And here you have several different options. The first one, you have boost the coverage nodes. And what this does is this takes the nodes and really able to take you to the topics by enabling this generative answers. Then you scroll over here, you have enterprise chat tools. And what this does is this takes your data and includes it with OpenAI. Then we have use AI features in your Copilot. And here there are several different sections. The first one is dynamic chaining with generative action. Then the other one is intelligent authoring with Copilot. And then there's boost conversational coverage with generative answers. Let's take each one of these separately. So dynamic chaining with generative action. And what this does is this allows you to use the generative AI to really construct a precise response to whatever the user's query is based on the understanding of the documentation that you saw above that it's been grounded on. And then it also enables you to replace the traditional natural language based approach with topic triggers, right? And this is, they understand the trigger phases you've defined in each topic. And this is with GPT to select one or more topics or plugin actions to the user's query. And then finally, with dynamic chaining with generative action, when you have a message and it's received from the users, you can use GPT to select one or more plugins or topics that can be used for the response. So that's dynamic chaining with generative action. Now let's look at intelligent authoring. And what this does is it allows you to create and iterate on topics by describing what you want and having AI build it for you, right? And this significantly decreases the time it takes to create and update bot topics. And then finally, you have boost conversational coverage with generative answers. And what this does is this allows you to customize a conversation with the node and get info in real time from the data source. Now let's go to topics and plugins. So what a topic is in Microsoft Copilot Studio, it's really the building blocks of a chatbot. And what these topics are is they're discrete conversational paths. And when used together, really gives the user the ability to have a conversation with the bot that feels natural and flows very human-like. Okay, when you add a topic, you have two choices. You can create one from blank, or you can create one by just having a description. And when you create from a topic from blank, this really allows you to create a new topic from scratch and to configure the actual trigger phrases. And then you add the conversational nodes to define the behavior of the topic. When you create a description by a topic, what happens is you enter in the topic and the AI then generates the functional topics with different node types and conversational responses based off of your description. So for example, let's see, order pizza. And now let's create a topic, pizza. Let's see, order a pizza with up to 3 toppings. And cheese. Then you hit create. Okay, so after you hit create, it actually creates the topics for you. As you can see here, it gives you an option of either adding or removing stuff. It created questions. What type of topping would you like on your pizza? And then it concludes with thank you with your order. And then you close that and you see the actual trigger created. Ordering a pizza. Has all these phrases. Then it has multiple choice. You have a choice of 3 types of pizza. And then at the end of the order, it thanks you for your message. Pretty cool, huh? You just put in a description and it created the topic for you. Okay, I'm going to save this. Okay, now we're going to talk about plugin actions. So what are plugin actions? So an action is a process that is called from a topic when a certain trigger is noticed by the chatbot, right? And there are 2 types of actions in Copilot Studio. There's plugin actions and generative actions. Plugin actions are used by your chatbot to respond to users automatically. Now, generative actions allow you to replace a traditional natural language base approach using triggers you've defined in each of the topic. Let's take a look at this. Let's say for my Tiger travel site, I want to get the forecast from MSN Weather. All right, then I click continue. And finally, it gives me a summary and I hit finish. Okay, now let's go over to entities. In entities, you have two options. You either create a new entity or register an external entity. So what is an entity? In Microsoft Copilot Studio, an entity is a unit of information that represent a certain type of real world subject, like somebody's phone number or zip code or what have you. And this is how a bot can very intelligently recognize the relevant information from user input and then save it for later. As you see here, there's a lot of pre-established entities like age, city, and so forth. But in addition to these pre-built entities, you can also create your own custom entity that is specific to your chatbot subject or domain. For example, if you were creating a chatbot for a restaurant, you'd want to create an entity for the menu items that the restaurant serves. There's also something called slots, and you can use these slots with the entities. And slots are used to collect information from the user and store it in variables for later use. So when a user provides information that matches an entity, the chatbot can automatically fill in the corresponding slot with the relevant or important information. Now, to register an external entity, you can use the entity registration feature in Copilot Studio. This feature allows you to create a new entity by providing a name, description, and data type. And then you can then use this entity in your chatbot to recognize and extract information that the user inputs. Let me show you. I'm going to create a new entity. Now I have a choice, a closed list or a regular expression. A closed list is a list that has an exact list of items that are manageable by size. A regulation expression or a regex is a specific logical pattern such as someone's ID or credit card number. So I'm going to create a closed list. Let's say this is zip code, and then zip code will be used to find the closest airport. I'll keep smart matching on and I'll hit save. After entities, you have analytics. These analytics will be from my previous demo that I did in my previous talk. So there won't be very much here, but as you can see, there's a summary, customer satisfaction tab, a session tab, and billing tab, and then also boost conversations tab. So let me quickly show you this when this renders. Okay, it takes a while to render usually. There's not much here because this is just a demo from my previous Tony talk. And then you go over to customer satisfaction, has stuff like CSAT. Go to sessions, shows you that I actually signed into this on the 1st, 6th, and 7th. Billing, I should have checked that probably sooner than later. And this shows you the answer rate and then mistakes that happened here. So as you can see, this is the key, and we scroll down to here, answered and unanswered. And then finally we go to publish. I showed you this in my previous Tony talk that I published this. And then here you have extend Microsoft Copilot. There's conversational plugins. Again, this is just in preview. Then you have AI plugins you have available to you. And here you click here, you can add a prompt. Then you have Copilot details. This is usually the stuff that when you first create your project that you enter all the information. So when you go to user settings, you just pretty much have two configurations. One, you have dark mode if you want to enable that, or two, if you want to have responses powered by Azure OpenAI, you can click that to on. Hey Tigers, I hope you found the tour of Copilot Studio useful. But the trick here is you have to go and use Copilot Studio. So go to the Microsoft Learn site and do some quick start tutorials. And then every time it asks you to do something, go back into this talk and really understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. Anyway, keep learning, and I'll see you next time. Tony Talk.